Hello and welcome back. This is another 8th grade math video, and today's focus will be on sequencing rational numbers. So if you've forgotten what rational numbers are, those are positive and negative decimals and fractions, and we'll be putting them in order from either least to greatest or greatest to least. Okay, here is our first one right here. For this one, we're going to be putting numbers in order from greatest to least. So that means biggest to smallest. However, it's much easier for us to put them in order from least to greatest. So whenever we do this, what I like to do is go ahead and put in order from least to greatest, and then I just switch the order in the end. I just kind of reverse it. So that's just easier for our minds to think about, especially when we're dealing with negative numbers. So I'm going to pretend this middle line here is 0. That means everything over here is negative and everything over here is positive. So I'm going to start sorting them out by negatives and positives. So I have -10 and -13 over 26. Those are my negatives. Then on the positive side, I have 9 over 30 and 12 over 20. So now what we have to do is kind of figure out on the negative side what order they go in, and on the positive side what order they would go in. On the negative side, it is more about which number is further away from 0. That is the one that is the least. So with these two numbers, I have -10 and -13 over 26. Well, -13 over 26 is equivalent to -1/2. So -1/2 is closer to 0 than -10. So I think these are already in the right order here. So I'm just going to go ahead and move, oops, I was going to try to drag them down. There we go. And move them down here. So -10 is further away from 0 than -1/2. Now on the positive side, I have 9 over 30 and 12 over 20. So 9 over 30 is less than 1/2. Half of 30 would be 15. And 12 over 20 is more than 1/2, because half of 20 would be 10. So that means they're already in the right order also. I just got real lucky there. So my last thing that I have to do is, because they asked for it in order of greatest to least, is I have to switch these around, which means I'm going to put 12 over 20 first, then 9 over 30, then -13 over 26, and then -10. So this should be the order from greatest to least. Okay, here's our next one. So I'm going to use the same strategy. I know it asks from greatest to least, but I'm going to go ahead and put them in order from least to greatest. And at the very end, I'll switch the order. So I'm going to go ahead and put a line here. This line is going to represent 0. That way I can put everything that's negative on this side and everything that's positive on this side. So on the left side, or the negative side, would be -34 over 40 and -2 over 25. And then on the positive side, I would have just 7. That's the only positive number there. So that definitely has to be the greatest. Now, between the two negatives, again, I'm looking for the one that is further away from 0 to be the least. So -34 over 40 is more than 1/2. That would be -20 over 40 would be 1/2. And -2 over 25 is less than 1/2. So it is actually closer to 0 than the other one, even though the numbers are bigger. So I think those are already in the right order from least to greatest. So what I'm going to do is switch the order now to go from greatest to least. That means I would put 7 first, then -25 or -2 over 25, followed by -34 over 40. And that's your order from greatest to least. Okay, here's our next one. We're going to put these in order from greatest to least again. So I'm going to use the same strategy where I put the least over here and the greatest over here, and then I'll switch the order at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and put this line down the middle, this neutral 0 line, so that I can put all my negatives on this side and all my positives on this side. So positive would be 9.15. Negative would be -21 over 25. And then -17 over 20. And then on the other side, we have 9 and 17 over 25. Now, these are a lot easier to compare if they are all in the same They either are all mixed numbers or fractions with the same denominator, or they are all decimals. So that's what I'm going to focus on next, because these are kind of hard to tell. Both 21 is more than 1/2 and 17 is more than 1/2 of 20. So these are kind of hard to tell. The only ones I could kind of tell here is that since 17 is more than half of 25, I'm pretty sure this one is the greatest and this one would be the least, but, or at least on the positive side. But let's go ahead and just change them all so that they are the same and they'll be easier to compare. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by rewriting 9.15 as a mixed number. That would be 9 and 15 over 100. And if you're not sure how I got to that conclusion, check out a previous video where I talked about converting between mixed numbers, fractions, and decimals. Okay, so now what I noticed is that all of these denominators can be multiplied, or at least the smaller ones can be multiplied to get 100. I could multiply 25 times 4 and 20 times 5. So that's what I'm going to start doing. I'm going to go ahead and multiply this times 4 and make this times 4 to match. This times 5, this times 5 to match. That one's, or the next one, 9 and 15 over 100 is already over 100. So this times 4 and this times 4 to make it all match. Okay, so now I need to do some rewriting here and some calculating. So I need to do -21 times 4. That will give me -84 over 100. And then 17 or -17 times 5 is -85 over 100. So again, since both of these are negative, we want to get the one that's furthest away from 0 and make that the least. So that means these two are going to have to switch. I'm going to have to move this one over here. Uh-oh, there we go. It's going to overlap. And then this one over here. Then I'll have to separate those a little bit again. Very carefully. There we go. Okay, so I went ahead and switched those around. Okay, so that means this one also gets switched. Okay, so that means that our least is the -17 over 20. On the positive side, let's see, I've got 9 and 15 over 100 already. Let's do 17 times 4. Let's see, 17 times 4 is 68. So 9 and 68 over 100. So as I suspected, this one is bigger than the 9 and 15 over 100. Okay, so now they are in the correct order. So I need to go back here and then switch the order around. Remember, because they wanted greatest to least. So we're going to have to do the 9 and 17 over 25 as the greatest. And if you want to cross them off once you've got them taken care of, that's totally fine too. Then would be 9.15 would be your next number in the order. And then the next one, let's see. Oh yeah, we switched these two. So it's actually going to be, you know what, I'm going to switch them back. That's, or I'm going to write, let's see, I'm going to write what they're equal to. That one's equal to that, and that one's equal to that. Okay, I'll make it a little bit easier. So that means the next one in the order would be the -21 over 25. And then the last one would be the -17 over 20. So this should be the order from greatest to least. Okay, here's our next one. Again, we're going to go from greatest to least. So I'm going to start by doing least to greatest, and then I'm going to flip the order at the end, put a 0 in the middle for our neutral zone, and then I can sort them by positives and negatives. So -3/5 would go on this side of 0, 2 goes on this side, 2/4 goes on this side, and 12 over 40 goes on this side. So already I know the least is -3/5 because that's the only one over there in the positive or in the negative zone. So over here, I have to just kind of play with these other ones. I have to move this 2 over here towards the greatest because that is 2 whole numbers, and both of those fractions are not whole numbers, they're less than a whole number. 2 over 4 is equivalent to 1/2, and then 12 over 40 has to be less than 1/2 because half of 40 would be 20. So I'm going to go ahead and move this one over here. So now this is the order from least to greatest, but they wanted the order from greatest to least. So I'm going to write that backwards. That's going to put 2 here, then 2/4, then 12 over 40, and last -3/5. So that would be the order from greatest to least. Okay, here is the last one for today's video. We're going to put these rational numbers in order from greatest to least again. So I'm going to start by doing least to greatest, and then we'll flip the order at the end. I'm going to put a 0 line right here in the middle so I can sort by positive and negatives. So this number 0.3875 is positive. So is 6 and 4 over 64. And here, I'm going to rewrite that because I really don't like writing fractions that way. 4 over 64. Then negative 6.9875 is the only one over here in the negative zone. And then over here, we have 6.8125. Okay, so like I said, the negative one, there's only one of those, so that's going to be the least. When I look at the other three, I see a 0 in the ones place, a 6, and a 6. So 0 in the ones place is going to be less than 6 in the ones place. So this one has to be the next one in the order right here. So it's kind of between these two, which one is smaller than the other. Well, if I have 4 over 64, that's a lot closer to 0 or having almost 0 tenths, right? Because that's pretty far away from being a whole. But if I have 8 tenths, that's almost close to being to the next whole number, which is 7. So I think these are already in order from least to, or from least to greatest. So all I have to do here is rewrite them in backwards order. So that means I'm going to put 6.8125 here. Maybe cross it off. Next would be 6 and 4 over 64. Cross that one off. Next would be 0.3875. Cross that one off. And the only one left, negative 6. Where was the rest of it? Oh, there, 9875. So this would be the order from greatest to least. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you in another video soon.